Hi there, I'm Chris, an architect based in the UK, and in today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to turn your architectural drawings into a full design presentation. We'll start with floor plans, sections and millwork drawings, and I'll walk you through how to transform them into polished, client-ready presentations. Together, we'll build out cover sheet, a legend, mood board, and FF&E sheet, so you can see how going the extra mile turns your technical drawings into stunning presentations. This step is key for winning client buy-in, showcasing your ideas professionally, and doing it all with minimal effort using Rayon.Design. With Rayon, you can create your drawings from start to finish and package them into a complete design presentation, all in one place, without having to switch between tools. And today, I'll take you step by step through that whole process. If you'd like to follow along, grab the free template linked in the description, and if you want a tailored guidance, you can also book a one-to-one demo with the Rayon team. And finally, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tutorials like this one, and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. Now, let's get started. I'll start with a short intro of Rayon's model canvas. In Rayon, you can import DWG files, DXF, PDF, and images, and it allows you to draw accurately and precisely, editing plans to scale and essentially creating a full architectural drawing set, from things like floor plans, sections, and elevations, all the way to design details and even mood board images and FF&E schedules. And today we're going to be zooming in to how easy it is to turn your architectural drawings into a full architectural design presentation, right where you draw them. So let's review a few details on the model canvas and get started. Okay, so from the home screen, you'll see the project here if you've downloaded it as well. So I'm going to double click into there and open up a new window specifically for this project. And we'll jump straight into the model canvas. You'll see it's a 2-story residential project. We've got our floor plan here, all looking great. We've got 2 sections, which are looking good. And then we've got this millwork drawing. So this example kitchen with floor plan, section, elevation as well. Now there's a couple of things that I want to be able to show you. One is Rayon's drawing ability. So we're going to jump into the wireframe view. So we'll just click on there, and I'm going to turn on the grid as well. And this will be very reminiscent of a tool like AutoCAD, for example. With Rayon, you can import DWGs, you can import DXF files, and you can draw to scale accurately. So we're going to be drawing at 1:1. And then we can take views of that at different scales. We have our wall tool where we can set wall thicknesses. We have an array of different blocks for doors and windows. And then we have an array of different blocks for furniture. And when you're drafting, it really is up to you whether you want to work in the wireframe view where everything is color coded very clearly, or you want to jump back to the standard view. So I'll jump back to the standard view. I'll turn our grid off for a second. And you'll see here, for example, that we've got our floor plan. Now, the other aspect I want to show you is about layers. So the floor plans are drawn on top of each other. So this is a 2-story building, and we've got a ground floor and a first floor that are layered on top of each other. And that's a really helpful way of doing things within Rayon, and it makes sure that there's perfect alignment between your stories. So you can see here on this layer tab, I've got ground floor, and then I've got first floor, which is grayed out, which shows that it's not on. So I'll just turn that on, and I can turn ground floor off, and you'll see that then the first floor information is overlaid and I've hidden the ground floor. And interestingly, there's a separate layer which is building shell, which is basically all the outside walls. So if you know that your outside walls continue up 2 stories and it's just the internal arrangement that changes, then this is a perfect way of doing it. Let's dive into the ground floor, and I want to show you a few different elements of that. So if we can open up that layer, we have a lot of sub layers within that. So at the moment, we've got this electrical plan which is sitting over the drawing. You'll notice here that these are these blue lines which highlight where the lighting layouts are alongside this key. So again, this is drawn as an overlay onto the existing plan. So I'm going to turn that off, and you can see that's now clear. And you can see we've got windows and doors, we've got dimensions, we've got shadows, we've got plants and people, furniture, we've got our internal walls, we've got our floor finishes. Let's just bring it right back to a very basic floor plan. So that's how the drawing would have started. So each one of these is a wall. Each of those walls has a different style, which is helpful within Rayon. So you'll see here, this style of wall is a 30 centimeter wide wall. I could go back in and edit that wall if I wanted to, and then that will update all of those walls, which is incredibly helpful. But really, to bring up your drawing to the sort of presentation standard, we have all these additional layers which help communicate the real, idea behind the drawing. So floor finishes, for example, they basically bound the space, so they read the inside line of these walls. So you can see by moving this wall, it adjusts the pattern to suit based on the fill, and also that space will be reading an area as well. So you can see in the properties style over on the right hand side, it will show me the area, and I can add a custom tag to that space if I wanted to. Then obviously you have dimensions. So the dimensions, again, they have their own style. So if I click on annotation style, which is here, this dimension style is consistent across the project. I could go in there, I could change them all to green if I wanted to, and that will affect everything which is tagged with that same style. You also have things like section lines and dashed lines as well. Then you've got things like blocks. So furniture, for example, are a series of pre-made blocks which live within Rayon, which are incredibly helpful because they're all already set up for you. So I'll show you the block library just a second. All of this furniture has come from Rayon's block library. So you've got things like bathrooms, coffee tables, different types of electrical equipment, kitchens, lighting, beds, mattresses, office furniture, people, plants, a whole host of different blocks, and a lot of them will have a variety of views set up as well. So this one, for example, this sofa set has got front, side and top views. So for example, here, I'll just switch that round, there's an elevation which aligns with that plan. So that's perfect if I wanted to set up a section of that space, and I have now got an elevation of that furniture that matches perfectly with the plan. That saves me so much time. And let's take the kitchen as well, for example. That has a side and a front view as well. So let's just switch that to the front view. So that kitchen perfectly aligns with that in plan. And you can see here, this is already pre-built, pre-drawn within the model, and then we can add to it if we want to, or adjust it how we see fit. And again, just like all the elements within Rayon, I can change the line types, I can change those blocks, I can even add color to those if I wanted to. And then jumping back to the layers, you can obviously add things like people, plants, and even shadows, for example. So the shadows really help the drawing sort of pop out, add some dimension and depth to those drawings and really communicate, the feeling of the space to client. So just by layering up that information, you are really helping to communicate your ideas, and hopefully, it sells the idea a lot better than just that. And with layering up this information, hopefully you can see that, by adding a bit of color, a bit of furniture and a bit of texture, it really communicates the feeling of the space and how people might use it much more than a basic plan like this. And it's exactly the same premise for the sections and the millwork drawings. So, there's a basic section which is living behind all of these elements, very basic wall arrangement, and then you add these pre-built elements, these pre-built textures into the model, which you can adjust at your leisure. And they really heighten that aesthetic. They show you how people will be using the space, a hint at the texture and color that might be within the space. And it just gives people a much better understanding from a sort of presentation point of view for your clients, what they're getting. And exactly the same thing with the millwork drawing. So, we could have something that's quite technical. We can have, obviously our setting out, our section details, how, things are hinging, how things are put together. But also we've got, an aesthetically pleasing and communicative drawing that shows how everything is functioning as well. Now that I'm done with my architectural drawings, I'm ready to present them. Normally, you would be exporting your drawings from your design tool and then stylizing them in another tool, and then maybe another tool for setting up your presentation. In Rayon, it can all be done in the same place, and really that's where the magic happens. But how exactly do you set your drawings up into a presentable state? Well, let's jump into Rayon's paper canvas. I'll first show you the end result, and then we'll recreate it together step by step. Okay, having explored the model canvas, I now want to show you the paper canvas. So you'll see up here on the left-hand side, there's canvases. So there's floor plans, which is the model canvas, and then you've got paper canvas here. So I'm going to click on here, and you'll see we've got a variety of pages for our presentation already set up. So we have our front cover, which gives us an idea of the type of feeling of the space, the duplex home renovation title here. We've got a sort of thematic idea and a legend. So we've got the sort of, the contents of the presentation and lots of sort of interesting mood board images. Our floor plans with hints of those mood boards as well. So we've got a ground floor plan, our first floor plan, and this is set within a drawing sheet. Then we've got our electrical floor plans. So I showed you earlier those electrical layouts. So these are now sitting on here as well with some ideas of different types of light fittings. We've got our sections, and interestingly, there's different options within those sections as well. So different options in terms of the look and feel. And then we've got our FF&E information. So this is materials, loose fittings and fixtures. You've got a series of images, what the items are, the quantities, color, size, lead times and status. Then we've got more detailed drawings like our millwork drawing, so the kitchen drawing that I showed you earlier. And then we've got an indication of the different materiality of different elements. And then we've got a rear cover sheet. So that's obviously all living within Rayon. So the same tool that you're doing your drawings in, you're doing your presentation in. So I'm going to show you how you put something like that together. Okay, so starting fresh, we can go back into our paper canvas. So I've cleared that out and I'm going to create a page. We're going to set that at an A3 so you can decide on what size presentation you want to have. So I'm going to go for A3 and I'm going to start with the cover sheet. Import an image. So I've just got a series of images on my desktop and I can very easily import an image as my cover. I can set a title, so duplex. I can change the font. I can change the size and I can save that as a style. So we can call that title. Obviously, if I change the text box size, that will change. And then I could create a subheading style. So I can detach that style. I can create a new one and call that subheading and say, actually, that's half the size, for example. And that can obviously snap two different elements if we wanted to. And then you can see, just as an example, if I wanted to change that style, I would just pick a style, click on the one I wanted, and I could match that. And that's the really helpful thing about setting up styles, is that you can have that consistency throughout your project. Okay, so what about the next page, the precedent image page and the legend? So I could add a new page. So again, I could go to layer, I could go to page. I could set that as an A3. You'll see there's little numberings up here. So page 1, page 2. Again, I could move over my title. I could move over my subheading, actually turn that into a legend. So O1, precedent images. O2 is floor plans. O3 is electrical layouts. 4 is sections. And O5 is E. And O6 is kitchen. I could align that just like there, title like that. And then again, I can import images. So I can go to import, I can go to image, and I could import some of these images as precedents. I can obviously scale them as well. The other thing you can do is obviously layer them up. So if you right click on there, you've got arrange, so you can bring things forward, send them back. Another aspect I just want to highlight is the remove background tool. So sometimes you'll find that maybe you don't want the background shown within your image, and Rayon allows for that. So if you just go into edit image, I can upscale an image. So say you'd found an image, but you could only find a low quality version of it. Rayon has some AI tools that will be able to upscale your image. And similarly, it can remove background. So I'm just going to remove the background there. And you'll see there that very quickly it removes the background, and then that will sit with a transparent background. And it looks really good, you know, when you start to layer up these elements. Some are solid, some are without a background. And similarly, if I wanted to find an image from a website, for example, I could open up another tab. I could find 70s style interior, for example, find an image, let's say this one. I could literally just copy that, jump back into Rayon, and then paste. And simple as that comes in as well. All very quick, all very easy. Okay, that's the images, but what about the drawings? So I can create a new page and I could add in a title block. So within the block library, there are a lot of existing annotations and title blocks. You see that here on the left-hand side. So I could bring in a title block literally by dragging and dropping it. I can scale that down and then I can start dumping some drawings on there. And to bring drawings in, you're basically going to be looking back at your model canvas. So if you remember, we've got the paper canvas, we've got the model canvas. If I want to add in a new view, so I'll go to here and I'll go to view and I'll say from the model canvas. So from this floor plan canvas, if I command and drag, I can change my crop boundary. And I always think about this as basically a little viewport looking back at my model space. You can set the scale as well. So obviously at the moment, the model space is drawn at 1:1. Say I want a 1:100 floor plan, drag that view in. And obviously the other interesting thing is because we have layered up our information, because we've got the ground floor and the first floor layered on top of each other, I can basically just duplicate that view and then change the layers that are being displayed, and that will show the ground floor or the first floor. So you'll see at the moment they're both showing the ground floor, but the one on the right, say for example I want to show the first floor, I would just turn off the ground floor view and turn on the first floor view, and there we have it. And in that view, for example, I don't want to show the electrical layouts, so I can go into this sub view and I can turn off the electrical layouts. There we go. And with those I can bring over my subheadings so that they're matching. You can say ground floor plan, change the alignment, and even with those we could bring in some additional precedent images if we wanted to, you know, that help talk about the style or the quality of the space. Another thing I like to do is to add color fills or texture fills. So for example, we could add a fill that matches the timber, change the scale, turn off the outline, or we could do it as a color. I can even swatch one of the colors here. And again, you know, if say this piece of furniture, for example, I wanted to remove the background, again, I can use Rayon's tools to do that. And then I can bring that forward and start to layer up the information, you know, and all of this is within the same drawing tool that I created the floor plans. And say now that I wanted to show the lighting layouts, for example, so I could literally select everything that I've just done, copy it across, and then go back into the layers. So in this one, I could turn off the first floor, have the ground floor, and then show the electrical layout on there. And on this one, I could go in, I could turn off the ground floor, show the first floor, and have the electrical layout showing on there. And I could even add in a new view looking back at the key plan, make the key, and we can put that in. All very quick, all very simple, because we've layered up that information. And we can even do the same thing for sections, for example. So again, I can copy this sheet down, I've got those two sort of view ports set up, and then I can just show what's different contained within those viewports. Make sure I set the scale. And then we've got the sections set up, and again I can just copy those labels across. Section A. The other thing I want to show you is about an FF&E schedule. So FF&E schedules are about basically scheduling out furnishings, fixtures, things like that. So bits that you might need to buy for your internal layout. So again, I can create a new page. So we'll set an A3 page, position that within our set. I'm gonna copy a title down from here, FF&E schedule, and then I've got some text. So I'm gonna have, what should I have? I should have picture, so an image of the item, item number, the quantity, the color or the size, maybe the supplier, the lead time, so how long it takes to come, and then finally maybe the cost, and then probably something like status. So, you know, what's the current status of this thing? Has it been ordered? Is it agreed? So those are my headings basically. I can create a shape that sort of contains those headings, add a sort of light grey fill to it, send that to the back. Then I can create a series of rows. So maybe I'll just change this to a slightly mid-grey. Move that down too, set that out nicely. So I've just got a series of rows for my different items. Maybe add in a slightly lighter colour background. Again, send that to the back. And then I could start adding items in. So, you know, I could take these from existing pictures that I've contained within here, for example. So the lights. And again, I can just copy these down. And then fill that in. And then lastly, I want to show you two more elements of the presentation. So one's the millwork drawing, so the kitchen, and one is our sort of rear cover sheet. So again, I'll just copy a page down. I can add a new view. So from our model canvas, I'll just crop that view down. And I basically want to be able to show the plan and the elevations of the kitchen. So we'll find those in that view. We'll find a scale that sits right. So 1:25 probably be a good one. Let's just crop that in slightly. And then we can get the views of the elevation as well. One thing I like to do is add in a guideline, which means that I can align my elevation perfectly with my plan. So I can duplicate that view, I can drag that over, and I can make sure that all my drawings are aligning nicely. Now we've got our section and elevations as well. You can see here we've already got the dimensions already within the model space, so that's all showing up perfectly. And with this, just to help really clarify the point about the kitchen, I could add in some precedent images, so dragging them from the rest of the presentation, or even I could crop them. So if I double click on there, I can bring in my boundary, so it's kind of acting like a mask, and I could basically use it like a material swatch, like that. Or even here, for example, I could make a rectangle. I could pick a style to match that flooring. I could drag it down. I might just change the scale. Maybe finally the same thing with this. I can adjust the scale slightly. I can drag in my crop boundary, and then we could just add a few little notes or annotations. So 01, 02, 03. There we go. And then you could code that on the drawing as well. And just to round the presentation off, we'll have a closing sheet. So I'm basically just going to duplicate the front cover. So I can copy that down, make sure it's aligned, and then literally just go into the image, press upload, find a different image, and that will replace that within that same boundary. And then we've got our rear cover. So just jumping back to our original presentation, you can see we've gone through how to create the front cover, the mood board with the legend, those floor plans which were layered up with those precedent images, the lighting layout, the sections, the FF&E schedule, so all of those rows and columns, the millwork drawings, so those kitchen drawings, and then that rear cover. So a complete presentation all within Rayon. Now that I've completed my sheets, I'm ready to export them for review from collaborators and clients. Rayon makes it so easy to share your work, to get input from others and present them seamlessly, all within the browser. Let's get started. So with the presentation finalized, there's a few things that I can do with it. So let's go into share. So I could invite a colleague, for example, to review it. So I'm just going to send this to myself. Set the person as a viewer, and that means that they can view it, but they can't change anything. So in my business email, I'll see that a notification has appeared. So Chris has shared the model with you. I'm going to click into this, open it with a different browser, so the different side of me can review it. And within that presentation, I can now view it. I can click on things, but I can't move them or change them. But I could measure things or judge the square meterage. The most important thing I can do is add a comment. So say you were sharing with a colleague or your boss, for example, and they were reviewing the kitchen, and I could add a comment like, the client has asked for a double sink. Can we accommodate it? Question mark. And then I could even add a little sketch to say push this out, and the double sink goes in here. Click done, and you'll see that that now lives in the comments. And now back in my original browser, I can see the comments tab, and I can now see these comments, and then you'll see where they appear, what they're referring to, and then that markup as well. And obviously I can respond to it, so I can add a reaction. I'll let you choose what reaction you want to make, or I can respond to it. So yes, that should be possible. I will update and resend reply. And obviously that then keeps a feed and that sort of back and forth transparent. And once you get any design items resolved, you can then share the presentation. So the other really helpful element of Rayon is about sharing presentations rather than having to endlessly PDF things, update them, send Google Drive or Dropbox links to places. We can just send the presentation as it is. So we just click on update presentation and we can open that link. It takes a second. And you will see there we've got our presentation just like a little slideshow, all coming in perfectly, line weight's looking good, all the images loaded up. There we go. Obviously you can zoom in, zoom out and go from there. And the really, really helpful thing is that if I then make any changes, I can just update that link. You could also copy that into an email and just send it to your client. And then finally, you can export as a PDF. So say you wanted to print the document. So we can go over to export. We could export them as images, as PDF files, even as a Rayon file if we wanted to. So we could select which pages. We'll select the resolution. We can call it presentation, do export. Again, takes a second. I'll find somewhere on my desktop to put it. And then you can see from my desktop, I can just open up the PDF and there it is. So again, we've got our perfectly formatted presentation, all our pages, all our drawings, our FF&E schedule and our rear cover, all looking good, ready to present or ready to print. And that's all from within Rayon, all within your browser, from your model canvas and your paper canvas. Great work following along. You've just learned how to transform technical drawings like floor plans, sections and millwork drawings into a complete client-ready presentation with Rayon. And now you know how to take those raw drawings and elevate them with the cover sheet, legend, mood board and FF&E sheet, turning technical details into a stunning presentation that will win client buy-in and showcases your ideas professionally. Remember, Rayon lets you create and present everything in one place, so you can spend less time switching tools and more time designing. If you want to put today's lessons into practice, don't forget to download the free template linked below. If you'd like more personalised guidance, you can always book a one-to-one demo with the Rayon team. Finally, be sure to like and subscribe for more tutorials and share your thoughts or questions in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.